at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We got to unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the Resistance. Monday, May 20th. That's the new open. Thank you, Matt and Lauren. They put that together when I was away. I am back, my friends. I hope you had fun when I was away. I was away. I missed you. I am back. I am more rested now. I am just as needy. So I'm on Twitter waiting for you to follow me at Dean Obeidallah or drop me an email, dean@deanofradio.com. I want to thank Tina Dupuis, who sat in for a few days, and a big thanks to Joe Sudbay, who sat in for an entire week here. Then both did a great job, and I greatly appreciate them making the time and their support to be on the show and fill in for me. I hope you miss me. I was in France. I thought about the show at times. In France, and I was in the South and then in Paris, people are not talking about Trump all the time. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? They don't really care that much about Trump, but they do care about something happening this weekend. That's the elections for the EU, for essentially the legislature of the EU Congress, I'll call it, so we all understand what it's essentially about. And over there, while Trump is not running, Trumpism is on the ballot, in that there are numerous candidates running who are espousing very similar views as Trump. They are anti-immigrant, they are anti-Muslim, they are anti-Semitic, they are very much white nationalists. And sadly, the way the polls look, it doesn't look like they'll take control of the EU, their General Assembly, the EU, Europe-wide. But sadly, it looks like they will make historic gains. And it's disturbing. And I'm telling you, it just makes it more and more clear that in 533 days, folks, 533, that's how many days until Judgment Day, November 3rd, 2020. This is the most important election of our lives. And being in Europe made that even more clear as these right-wing parties are emboldened by Donald Trump. And we have to send a message here. It's our job, November 3rd, 2020. This is our job. It is our mission in life to win this election. And not just win Trump, but to defeat Trumpism, to keep the House and to win the Senate. These are vastly important. And plus take governorships and state legislatures as well. But if we come out big, we win big. We saw that in 2018. And none of us can do this alone. There's not one person out here that's going to be our savior. As Barack Obama told us, don't wait for the perfect candidate or the savior. It's not about that. But I think there's a great quote from Bobby Kennedy that I love, and I've said it before on the show, that inspires me, and I hope others feel the same, that we all play a role in this. And the quote is, few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. And in the total of all those acts will be written the history of this generation. This is our fight for this generation. And it's not a generation defined by age. It is one defined by values. It is very clear what Trumpism is. It's opposite everything that our values as progressives and our what we believe America stands for. I think the generation, our values, this generation's, are those of tolerance and caring and compassion. It's not a celebration of cruelty like the other side. It's not a demonization of people because of the way they look or the way they love or the way they pray. We celebrate those. Those are all things that make this nation remarkable, exceptional. At its best, that's the best. And there are a lot of problems in our nation, and we continue to try to perfect it. But again, November 3rd, 2020, that'll be the focus from now to that day on this show, is to win that election, to win the Senate, to keep the House. And we'll do all we can to help the Democrats who are running, all of them, to show the best side of all the 2020 candidates, but to vet them the same way, because we need to nominate the best man or woman to lead us in the victory against Trump and taking the Senate back and keeping the House. And it's never been more clear. And in between now and November 3rd, 2020, there will be invariable little fights going on about issues that move us, that touch us, that are painful for us. And I was away, and I know that Joe covered it. The Alabama law that bans abortion essentially, and the numerous other laws in various other states that have been passed recently, the fetal heartbeat bills. And we're going to talk about that a lot tonight in the first few hours with some great guests and with you here. But first, I want to use a little humor here. Leslie Jones on SNL, you might know her. She's a great cast member. We did a Weekend Update segment about the laws that are passing and about the efforts of conservatives on the right to impose Christian Sharia law. And it's a term I use all the time, and I'll explain it a little bit afterwards again for those who don't know what I mean by that. I'm not being provocative. That is technically the right term. It is Christian Sharia law, as opposed to Islamic Sharia law. This is Christian Sharia law. And so let's have a little fun for her. Here's Leslie Jones on Weekend Update. And behind her in the comedy she's doing is a picture of the 25 men in the Alabama Senate who had voted to ban abortion except for the case of the life of the mother. So here is clip number 1.
And what made me so mad was seeing the 25 Alabama senators who voted for the abortion ban. Throw that picture up. Look at them. All men. This looked like the casting call for a Lipitor commercial. This looked like the mug shots of everyone arrested at a massage parlor. And if any of them had lips, I would tell them to kiss my entire ass. You can't control women. You can't control women. Because, I don't know if y'all heard, but women are the same as humans.
And it's great to hear the audience respond that way. And also something else better happened. This clip went viral. I'll play one more part of it where she got very serious. It went viral. It was viral on Twitter. It went viral on Facebook. And it's reaching people who don't follow politics. And we all, whoever you're listening, you follow politics closely. You know you do. Doesn't matter if you're a Trumper and you want to listen to get your blood pressure up, or you're one of our fellow progressives, or you're in the middle. We follow politics closely. There are many Americans who don't know the Alabama law, who don't know what happened in Missouri on Friday when the assembly there voted for an 8-week ban on abortion, who don't know about the other states, Mississippi, Ohio, and Kansas. But what happened is Leslie Jones, through comedy, reached these men and women, but especially young women, about what's going on in this country. And here is Leslie Jones turning more serious, and this was on Saturday Night Live Saturday in the season finale. Here's clip number 2.
When women have a choice, women have freedom. That's right. That's how you tell them, Leslie. Shut up. You flat white privilege latte. Look, the fact that 9 states are doing this means this really is a war on women. And if you're a woman out there and you feel scared or confused, just know that you're not alone. There's so many women out there that got your back, especially me. Leslie Dracaris, that bitch Jones. You can't tell me what to do with my body. You can't make me small or put me in a box. I'm 6 feet tall and 233 pounds. Ain't no box big enough to hold me. And I know, because one time I tried to mail myself to a dude.
So there was Leslie, and that went viral, and it reached so many people, and that's what's great about it. And let's talk about the serious issue here. And I'd love to hear from you. I wasn't here, obviously, the last week and a couple of days before that to hear your view on what's going on. Let me tell you my view here, and I think it's very important because you're hearing some Republicans now, like Trump and Pat Robertson and Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, saying this law in Alabama went too far. That's a lie. That's a lie. This is the GOP. This is where they're going, and this is why I'm going to track the history for you to make it clear. This law in Alabama is not an aberration. It is the manifestation of everything the GOP has been laying the groundwork for years now. Again, it is not an aberration. It is literally a manifestation of what they've been putting in movement and getting the base on board for years. For years, this has been going on. Because in America, there are some Christians, not all, of course, but some, who believe this nation is not only a Christian nation in name, but they want it to be the Christian version of Saudi Arabia. They want our life to be controlled by the Bible. And I will read you quotes. It's not me just saying this. I'm not being provocative for the sake of it. And again, when I say Christian Sharia law, let me explain why that is so apt and accurate. Sharia does not mean body of law in Arabic. Sharia in Arabic means path, P-A-T-H, path. And what it means in essence is a path to God. For Muslims, a personal Sharia would be, for me, my path to God, I don't lie, or I won't eat pork, let's say. That's typical. That's what people, different beliefs, their religion, they believe in it. They act accordingly. When you try to turn those beliefs into the law of the land, that is the Sharia that we talk about that is so troubling. And in Saudi Arabia, they will pervert what the Quran says, and then they'll oppose it as law. That is the Sharia people talk about. But that is Islamic Sharia, and that's the Islamic path to God. What we're seeing in America is Christian Sharia. The Christian path to God, by the right that this is their religious beliefs. They have every right to believe them. I support them believing it. It's when they want to turn those beliefs into the law of the land, it turns into no different than Saudi Arabia. And that you're saying, here's my religious beliefs, and now the entire country, regardless of what you believe or don't believe, whatever faith, you must live according to my religious beliefs. That is not the United States of America. It should not be. And this is where we're going. And this is, anyone surprised by this, and I know if you're a progressive and you listen to this show and you listen to this channel, you know this has been going on for years. But I want to line it up for people to understand exactly what's going on. And in modern day, to me, the origins, I saw it in the 2008 race for president on the GOP side. Mike Huckabee was actually doing really well. And he lost to John McCain, obviously, but he's doing really well. And he's the father of Sarah Huckabee, as we know. And this lays the groundwork for where we are now with an abortion law that has no exceptions except the life of the mother. Mike Huckabee said in 2008, as a presidential candidate, not as a reverend in a church, as a candidate, he said, quote, I believe that it's a lot easier to change the Constitution than it would be to change the word of the living God. And that's what we need to do, is amend the Constitution so it's in God's standards, rather than trying to change the God standards so it lines up with some contemporary view. What he's saying, very simply, is we must change the American Constitution and the laws of this country to correspond and agree with the Bible. He did pretty well. He didn't win the primary. He didn't win the nomination. Did pretty well. It's building support. 2012, Rick Santorum, who wins Iowa but loses the nomination ultimately, he said a very similar thing. He said, our civil laws have to comport with a higher law, with God's law. We have civil laws, he reiterated, but our civil laws have to comport with this higher law. This is the idea of turning your religion into the laws of the land. If a Muslim member of Congress were to say, I think it's easier to change the Constitution than change the living word of the God, and we have to turn the Quran into the law of America, I would be outraged. I'd be the first. And on the right, they'd be going crazy. But when you say this from the Christian right, it's okay. This is where they are. They've been marinating in this dream for years. Again, this is not an aberration, these laws. This is a manifestation. Understand, this is what they've dreamed of. So the handful that come out and go, oh, this is too far, that's a lie. This is what they want. This is what they've been working for. The dream for them is coming true. Their judgment day is imposing the Bible on all of us. And then you get to the 2016 race. And for the first time in mainstream American politics, you heard a mainstream candidate, Marco Rubio, say in a debate, the very first Fox News debate in 2015, was part of the 2016 cycle, he no longer believed in the exceptions to abortion. This should have got a lot more press. Got a teeny bit of press, not much. Here was the beginning of where we are today. Here's clip number 3.
If you believe that life begins at conception, as you say you do, how do you justify ending a life just because it begins violently through no fault of the baby?
Well, Megan, first of all, I'm not sure that that's a correct assessment of my record. I would go on to add that I believe all human
life... You don't favor a rape and an incest exception?
I have never said that, and I have never advocated that. What I have advocated is that we pass law in this country that says all human life at every stage of its development is worthy of protection. In fact, I think that law already exists. It's called the Constitution of the United States. And let me go further. I believe that every single human being is entitled to the protection of our laws, whether they can vote or not, whether they can speak or not, whether they can hire a lawyer or not, whether they have a birth certificate or not. And I think future generations will look back at this history of our country and call us barbarians for murdering millions of babies who we never gave them a chance to live.
There's Marco Rubio telling the world, telling America, telling Fox News audience that cheered, I don't support those exceptions. I never said I would champion those 3 exceptions, because a third one's going to go by the wayside soon, folks. The idea of saving the life of the mother, because of them, it's about who are we to choose which lives to survive. So you had Marco Rubio in 2015 in that part of 2016 campaign saying, I no longer believe in these exceptions. Scott Walker, who was then the governor of Wisconsin, said the exact same thing. So little pressure. So let's not play games and think like this is an aberration. It is a manifestation. So when you see in Alabama, the governor saying no more abortion allowed, it's illegal, it's a crime, literally it would be a crime, and that a doctor who performs an abortion except to save the life of the mother can face 99 years in prison. This is just what they've been working to. Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, Ohio have all passed the fetal heartbeat bills, as they call it. Again, these are just ways to ban abortion. Missouri on Friday voted overwhelmingly, the state legislature following the Senate, to ban abortions at 8 weeks. And if Roe versus Wade is overturned, this actual bill says if Roe versus Wade is overturned, it becomes an absolute ban on abortion except for the life of the mother. These are not aberrations. These are manifestations of their dreams. This is what they've been wanting to do for years. And of course, obviously, Justice Kennedy's gone. You got Kavanaugh and Merrick Garland. Kavanaugh and Gorsuch on the Supreme Court now. The dream is they're going to overturn Roe versus Wade. And if you doubt me that this is Christian Sharia law, let me just read to you some of the statements of the governors who have signed these attempts to impose the Bible on America. And when these governors signed these bills, these fetal heartbeat bills, did they invoke public policy considerations? Did they say, we're doing this because this is good for the people of my state based on this public policy consideration, whatever it might be? Or did they cite religious reasons? You probably know where I'm going. They cited religious reasons. They're not even playing games. They're telling you this is about their Bible and their beliefs imposed on the rest of us. Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia, who should not be there, it should be Stacey Abrams. In any event, when he signed their fetal heartbeat bill, he said, quote, we must protect life at all stages. We must remember our higher calling. Our higher calling? Where's the public policy consideration? That sounds like something a reverend would say. Phil Bryant, governor of Mississippi, signed similar bill, was threatened with a lawsuit. What did he say? We will all answer to the good Lord one day. And I will say in this instance, I fought for the lives of innocent babies, even under the threat of legal action. This is Christian Sharia law. This is the Christian path to God being imposed on all of us. All of us. Doesn't matter what faith you are, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh, no faith at all. You think it's going to end here? You're kidding yourself. They're more bold than ever. This is not the end game. This is the beginning. It's not the end of times for them. This is the beginning of times. This is the dream for them. This is the glory days. This is unreal. They have a Supreme Court that will dismantle, and we'll go through more things that they'll dismantle. But where will it go in terms of law? This is what I tell you I believe it's going to go. Right now, the laws only prosecute the doctor. Next, the new set of laws will prosecute women. Pregnant women who go for an abortion, and they have maybe a sting operation, and there you are, you're arrested, and you're brought to prison. And in prison, you can't have an abortion, and there you're watched till you give birth to your baby. A baby may be brought to life because you were raped, or you're the victim of incest, or just because you don't want to have a child because it's your body and it's your choice. And if you doubt me, they're going to punish the women. Here's Donald Trump telling us all that during the campaign when speaking to Chris Matthews, point blank, where we're going next. Here's clip number 4.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
10 cents, 10 years, what?
That's where it's going. Donald Trump told you that. He won the nomination for that. That's one of his promises. They're going to punish the women. I'm not going to make light of it, say it's Handmaid's Tale. This is horrific where they're going. If they were going to impose the Bible, which I'm against, but I wish they would start with the good parts. Like in Matthew 25:35, where it says, for I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, you invited me in. I was sick and you looked after me. But they don't. They do the worst part. In fact, in Alabama, the very state that has now banned abortion, except for the case of the life of the mother, their child poverty rates are off the chart. 30%, folks, 1 in 3 children under 5 in Alabama live in poverty. Let me repeat that. 30% of the children under 5 in Alabama live in poverty. They're not worried about them. They're not going to increase funding to get rid of that. In fact, they're the 5th highest child poverty rate in the country. Alabama has not expanded Medicaid under the ACA. That would help 140,000 people in Alabama, including 60% of them would be children. They won't do that. They don't believe in the parts of the Bible that help people. They believe in the parts that punish and control women and control anyone. It's unreal to me that these so-called Christians who want to say we're going to oppress women and direct your lives and you can't do anything that we don't agree with because it's our religion, it's our Christian Sharia, but they won't turn around and increase funding to help the children who are born, the 30% under 5 who are living in poverty as we sit here today. But they want to have more children born who maybe people don't have the wherewithal to raise them, or unwanted pregnancy. Nope, give them birth and let them suffer. How is this Christian anything? This is horrific. And if you think it's going to end with abortion, you're kidding yourself. Once they overturn Roe versus Wade, next thing, Obergefell, the marriage equality case, that was only a 5-4 decision. They can overturn that very quickly. They will find the next test case in a year or two and overturn that. And from there, they'll go after Griswold versus Connecticut, which most people, you may have heard the name. It's an older case. It protects your right to get birth control and says the government cannot pass a law to prevent an adult from buying birth control. They will overturn that. It does not mean that gay marriage or marriage equality will be illegal across the country. It does not mean birth control will be illegal across the country. It does not mean abortion will be illegal across the country. It'll go back to the states. Then we'll have 2 different nations. The red states where Christian Sharia rules, where you can't get birth control, women cannot get abortions, and LGBT community do not have equality. And the blue states, a whole different country within the same geographic location. That's where we're heading. So the good news is I've seen more and more activism in response. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about, we have some guests coming on later to talk about it. Liz Winstead will be here. Tomorrow, big rallies across the nation organized by Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, the Women's March, NARAL, Move On, Indivisible. If you're interested in what we will talk about it later, but I hope people will go to the streets and call and tell us what's going on. Go to stopabortionbans.org. That's stopabortionbans.org. It's going to be held Tuesday at state houses, town squares, courthouses across the nation. People are rising up. This is our fight. This is the calling of our generation. This is the time we write the history of our generation. How are you going to play a role in that? When you look back, what are you going to tell your children or grandchildren or spouses, friends? What role did you play in writing the story of this generation? This is our chance. This is our burden. It's our challenge. I think we're going to rise up. I think it's going to be great. We did it November 2018. We'll do it again November 2020. But there'll be a lot of these fights in between. We have not only a lawless, corrupt president. We have a GOP that's emboldened who wants to turn their Christian path to God into all of our laws. And I would be fighting it just as ferociously if some Muslim leaders in this country want to do the same thing, I can assure you. This is not what this nation was intended. Thomas Jefferson famously talked about a separation between church and state, a wall between church and state. Ronald Reagan even talked about a separation between church and state. That's all gone. This is no longer the United States of America if they win. It'll be 2 different countries. The blue states will be fine. But if you leave the blue states, you lose your rights. So it's stark. Stakes are high. We're going to win. We're going to work. I'd love to hear from you. I've been away. I'd love to hear from you. 866-997-4748. We got a lot of great guests tonight. Our first night back. Be right back after this. Love to hear from you. You're listening to the Dean Obeidallah Show, where we crush Trump's lies every single day.
On Sirius XM Progress 127.